Happy late morning, early lunch hour, guys, for Wednesday. All right. I'm going to show you something here in a second, then I'm going to break it down for you. But this is starting to prove that what I'm expecting is right. Far be it from me from doing Pete Buttigieg's job, but this is blatantly obvious. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This happened yesterday in Tulsa. Watch this video.
Called a train derailment.
All right, so now I'm going to break this down to you to explain exactly why I think this is eco-terrorism. All right, I'm going to show you this video in bits and pieces now, just to make it a little easier. So let's look at the first part here as the train comes and the flatbed car comes across the tracks. All right, and you will see that the back wheels on the tracks break loose. Now, mind you, this is not the first car in the train, so there's been a bunch of cars that have already gone across this portion of the track. So you see this. As you saw, the back wheels come loose. The next car in the line is a oil car, all right? Now, watch what happens in the exact same spot. The front wheels on the oil car come off. So what you have at this point now are two sets of train wheels that were in line, one after another, that have come loose from a train. The flatbed car is now being towed down the tracks with the rest of the locomotive and everything else that was in front of it. That cleared this section of track, no problem. Okay? Then you have an oil car, which is now broke loose from everything else. It will eventually fall off the tracks. The rest of the car, momentum, the rest of the train, momentum is going to push the rest of that train into the oil car. Now, I want you to look specifically at the car behind the oil car. Watch this. If you see that flatbed car there that's behind the oil car, those wheels are still on the tracks. So what this is telling me is there's not a track problem there. Or if there is, it's a minor bump. But why is it that however many cars were in front of that first flatbed car were able to go over this section of track, no problem, and these two cars with two sets of wheels, back on one, front on the other, both broke loose, yet the train cars behind it in this video are still on the track. Now, eventually, of course, they'll get dragged off the track because the weight of the oil car will pull it off the track. But as it went through the intersection here, it is still on the tracks. Those didn't break off either, so it's not a track problem, okay? Now, think about this for a second. What have we seen in everything? Oil cars, chemical cars, plastic fires. I keep saying this is some sort of eco-terrorism that is going on against the petroleum industry. Anything that's a petroleum product is a target. Why do I say it with this one? Now let's think about this. If the track is okay, the cars are the ones that have the issue here. This is in my layman's view, but using logic, trying to figure this out. What's to say you don't have some sort of eco-terrorist getting under those trains, and I don't know how the wheels are bolted to the bottom of the carriage of the train, okay, whether it's bolted, whether it's welded, whatever it would be. Who's to say somebody didn't come underneath there, break the welds, loosen the bolts, whatever, to cause an accident whereby an oil car was going to be dislodged from the rest of the train and then rammed by all the cars that follow it to cause another petroleum disaster. Now, you say, oh, it's not possible that somebody could get under there and get a blowtorch and cut the welds, or get a air wrench and pop bolts, or whatever it is. I'm going to say, oh yeah, absolutely they can. Here's my reason being. Every freight train you've ever seen, how much graffiti is painted on it? You've seen the artwork that is done on these trains, okay? It's not some guy going zip, zip, zip with a spray can and running away. There's effort put into that with multiple cans of spray paint, putting names, Tony loves Maria or whatever the hell would be on the side of these cars. It takes time. There's plenty of time for somebody to get underneath one of these trains and loosen bolts, to cut welds, to do whatever it would be to make this happen. Now, you get into the other part. Are train cars inspected? No. Okay? They're supposed to be. NTSB should say anytime before a train moves, however, for all those of you guys that work in the railroad industry, bear with me, okay? But if a train drove from Des Moines to Chicago and the train stopped in Chicago, I don't care if it was on the side of the track somewhere because the engineer had to go to sleep or whatever it is, before that train moves again, somebody should inspect everything on that train. I'm going to guess that something like that probably does happen, okay? That these get inspected over and over and over again. Are they inspected when they're en route somewhere? I don't know. Y'all can tell me that. But if the next morning the engineer says, okay, I'm awake, turn on the engine, and off and running he goes, we get situations like this. Somebody walk underneath the train? Yeah, that might be a little difficult. I don't know, how many freaking train accidents have we had of petroleum products, of chemical products, whatever, things that can release toxic fumes, oil spills, poison, whatever it would be. Anybody's going to be hard-pressed to tell me this is not an act of terrorism, because it always seems to be the most flammable cars on the train that miraculously are the ones that fall off. We're not seeing boxcars full of sheep or pigs or cows, which there are plenty of, falling off, are we? No. When's the last time you heard about a train derailment and a bunch of cows died? I can't remember the last one. But gee, it seems to be chemical and oil and everything like that over and over and over again. Now, could this have something to do with the fact that the railroad workers union wanted to go on strike and they're not getting enough time off and there aren't enough people? Oh yeah, I'd say that's a big thing. Where are the inspectors? Can we throw something else in there? City of Philadelphia. I'm just saying. How many parts on there were made in China? Philadelphia, remember I told you a week ago, was buying a whole bunch of their train cars for their public transportation system. They're Chinese-made rail cars that leaked, the brakes didn't work, the electricity in the cars didn't work, all that sort of crap. Now, I'm looking at that car. I can't tell you if it's new or old. It doesn't look like it's very new. So it could be a maintenance issue, okay? But if it's a maintenance issue, why is it that the back wheels of one car and the front wheels of the next car were the only ones that came off, and the car after it was able to traverse that whatever bump in the rails was there without a problem? Why do we have these issues? Do not tell me we don't have some eco-terrorism going on with this. That everything I keep seeing in all these videos tells me there's something nefarious going on here. And the NTSB and Pete Buttigieg, the Department of Transportation, hell, he's probably not even going. He's out chest feeding somewhere or, doing whatever. Put his ferry boots on and go inspect something like this. Somebody needs to come out and say exactly what happened. Look under there for the attachment of those wheels to those cars, because it's very strange that those things slid right backwards. That they came right, that the wheels stayed on the train, but the car came off the wheels. That's not a track issue, that's a wheel issue. And we need answers for what's going on before we have another East Palestine. Pinball out.